Hello everyone and welcome to ClayShareCon 2023. I'm Jessica Putnam Phillips. Welcome into our second program of the afternoon here on day 4. Can you believe we're already into day 4? The time has flown like crazy. So we have this demo right now, which is going to be with me, and I'm going to show you how to use textured rolling pins to make a handled tray. And you can modify this and make all kinds of other things. Now, I'm going to talk a lot about our rolling pins that we make here at ClayShare, a bit about our designs and everything and how they're made in the process. I know a lot of folks have a lot of questions about them and are always asking me, so I thought this would be a great chance to share with you all of that info. Also, techniques for using the rolling pins. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but I do have some suggestions and tips for folks that might struggle with using them. And we're going to make a beautiful potter. So here's one that I made using GR Pottery Forms. And I used one of their plaque shapes, the rectangle plaque shape. And the pattern on it is my Southwest design. Now, this one here happens to be my 7-inch Southwest rolling pin, but we do also offer this in a 12-inch rolling pin. So we do have 3 sizes of rolling pins here that we make at ClayShare currently. Maybe we'll add more down the line, but right now we're just up to 3 different sizes, which that's quite a few to keep up with. I think if we go to camera 2, I can really show the texture in here. And you can see how beautiful this piece turned out. So isn't that great? I love it. It's so happy and cheerful. It just says, put something in me, like breakfast or muffins, right? Scrambled eggs and sausage, whatever you want to do with it. I love it. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about how come we make rolling pins? Like ClayShare, don't you teach people how to make pottery? Yes, I do. And in my own work for many years, and I still do a lot of carving, and I love to draw. So that's another half of my life, is I do a lot of illustration and drawing work, and I have written coloring books, and I have an agent, an art agent, who manages that side of my career with my illustration and all those kind of things. But what I would do is I only drew because I wanted to put the drawings in pottery, you see, and so I'd carve them, whether it was Mishima or Sgraffito, I'd carve my illustrations. And people would say, wow, I love your drawings, I love your carving, I wish I could get that image, I wish I could carve like you. So I was teaching people how to carve, which is great, but it would never be exactly the same. So it was suggested to me to try out textured rolling pins. Now there's plenty out there, and I started buying some from other companies, and I fell in love with textured rolling pins. You know, there's some great ones made in the UK, great ones made in Poland, in all other parts of Europe, great ones made in the US. So they're made all over really now. And instead of it being only for baking, it now is used in clay. So we started making our own rolling pins, and we make them right here in our own home here in Vermont. We've dedicated a room to our rolling pin business, and we have 4 industrial grade laser machines running every day, all day, except during ClayShareCon, because we're here with you all, so we're not making pins. Now, we started the rolling pins for a couple of reasons. One, so that I could offer these pins to you all, but also our 2 adult daughters who live with us that are disabled work for us. And so this is a lot of what they do. So I know we have a long wait time on rolling pins. And I do have to tell people and remind you folks gently that our daughters who are disabled are the main ones making these rolling pins. And we cannot expect them to work 60 hours a week. You couldn't expect that of yourself. 20 hours a week is the most either one of them can do, and honestly, it's more like 10. So Kevin and I pick up the slack on the rolling pins and spend any downtime we have making them for you. So I just want to put that out there. That's why there's this huge wait time, is because you cannot work all these full-time jobs and make everything happen. So I really like to explain that to folks because I don't think everybody understands that. Now, the rolling pins we use, the wood we get here locally, the pin, it's made by this fabulous company. It's sourced here in New England, sustainably harvested. These rolling pins here have been rated by Gourmet and Food magazines as the #1 rolling pin, period. So we start with the #1 rolling pin you can get, and then we engrave my beautiful designs into it. So there's a little bit about these rolling pins and what makes them so special. Yes, they're more like collector items. They are food grade. You can use them for food. I would not take them back and forth from the studio to your house, just because, you know, there's materials in the studio you don't really want to eat, right? Right. So we have them in 12 inches. I showed you the 7-inch already. And then we have the new mini rollers, which is a more recent product we added. And we only have 7 designs so far, but I'm working on more. And the reason we came out with smaller rollers is sometimes you just want to put a little bit of texture on. Or sometimes it's really hard for these big rolling pins for people to roll them in clay. That's one reason why we have the 7-inch rolling pins. A little easier for folks to put pressure on the clay and roll them in it. And the same thing with the minis too. So there's a little bit about the rolling pins. Now when you're going to roll them in clay, you don't have to do anything to the rolling pin. We pre-treat these here with mineral oil. So they go into a mineral oil bath and they soak and then they dry and then we pack them and ship them to you all. So they're pre-treated, ready to go out of the box when you get your rolling pins. If your clay is really wet and sticky, sometimes you might find a little bit of the clay gets inside your rolling pin. So what you can do is you can either wait for your clay to dry out, but I know we have limited time in the studio. We want to get making, don't we? So you could brush the surface of your clay with a little cornstarch. It won't hurt anything at all, and that'll help prevent the clay from being quite so sticky. If you do happen to get any clay in here, you just can wait a little while for it to dry and then clean it out with a needle tool, or you could take a damp sponge and you can wipe it clean. I wouldn't submerge these in water. Do not put them in the dishwasher. They're not meant for that. If you had to because some really terrible thing happened and you had so much clay in your rolling pin it was just caked with it, I'm not sure what would happen to cause that, but if that did happen, yes, you can take them in the house and turn your faucet on and gently run them under the faucet and clean it with a sponge. If you have to, then let them dry, and then I would rub a coat of mineral oil on it after it's dry and let it set, and it's fine. It'll be perfectly fine. They're not meant to get baths, but if it has to happen, it can happen. All right, so there's a bit about the rolling pins. I'm going to go ahead and make the tray. So GR Pottery Forms has so many different amazing form shapes. I just love all the possibilities out there. If you are not able to get GR Pottery Forms, because I know not everybody lives near a dealer or distributor for GR Pottery Forms, or your budget is such that you just can't spring for GR Pottery Forms right now, I have many classes on ClayShare teaching you how to make your own forms and your own molds. So if you want to learn how, which even if you use GR Pottery Forms, I think it's really good knowledge to have under your belt. It's always good to know these foundation skills in ceramics. So I have a bunch of classes teaching you how to make your own molds, and these aren't out of plaster. These are out of clay, and they're bisque molds, so you don't have to worry about getting into another material. So I'm going to be using this little spherical rectangle that Jeff has from GR Pottery Forms. This is the 5x12. And here at ClayShare, you know we have the brand new Marrakesh rim template that's available for you all through Jeff, through GR Pottery Forms. But we also offer digital downloads that you can download your own rim templates and you can print them out on craft foam. If you have a Cricut, you can print them out on paper and trace them on the craft foam. If you have access to a laser machine, many libraries and community centers now have laser machines that you can take the files to. You could cut your own like I did here. So you can make your own rim templates. I think going forward, Jeff and I might work together on some more. I hope we're going to. Right now we have the Marrakesh in the 5 sizes, and you can get that there. All right, so for this, I'm going to go ahead and use the handled platter form. And this happens to be the 6.5 by 13.5, and I'm using it with a 5x12 spherical rectangle. So I've got a slab of clay I rolled out already on my slab roller. I set my slab roller to 1/4 inch, and then I roll my slab out. And then what I'll do is after it's been rolled out, I will thin it down if it needs to be for smaller pieces. If I'm making bigger pieces, I'll roll it a little thicker. But here's my slab, and do you see how it's wrapped up? I'm going to put this to the side so it's not risk of getting bumped. See how I have it wrapped in plastic? This is how I store my slabs, and I actually had 2 other slabs set on top of this one when I used them. You know, I had them stacked and had it stored, and then I used them for other projects. So I can usually stack 3 slabs on each other, and they don't stick. You just lay them on each other and then wrap them up really good with your plastic, seal them up, and they'll stay nice and pliable until you're ready to use them. As long as your studio doesn't freeze. I have to put that in there, because if it freezes, then you got to wedge it up and start over. All right, I'm going to flip this off, the plastic, And then I've got a yellow rib here, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to smooth out and compress the surface, because although canvas texture is nice, we have these beautiful textures we want to put on our surface. So we want to prep our surface so that it's ready for what we're going to do with it. What are we going to do? We got possibilities, don't we? All right, so we're just going to flip this over and we'll do both sides. This is a yellow mud tool rib. What size is this one? Is this one the number 3? Yep, number 3. So when I teach, well, when I used to teach at the university, this was on my students' list of tools to get, was the number 3 yellow mud tool rib. It was really the only thing other than your basic pottery toolkit that I suggested my students buy, because it's such a game changer. So now we have our slab ready. We're going to use our rim template. And I'm just going to go ahead and lay it on here so I know where I'm putting texture. Now, sometimes I will just take and I'll just put texture on the entire sheet of clay, and that's fabulous. And I do that when I'm just going to make a whole bunch of things. But I know for sure I'm making this. So I'm going to take this right here, and then using a needle tool, I'm just going to lightly trace some guidelines, because we're going to do a little playing with texture. And I want to make sure I line up my texture correctly. All right, so let's see, what can we do? We can do, oh my gosh, so I've got too many choices for rolling pins in front of me. So I think I'm going to use the new Minnie's Lace Flowers. And I'm going to combine the lace flowers with, let's combine it with the wood block print here. Now, the small rollers you can roll on the little handle, but here's a great trick. Watch. And just pop them right off, because I like to roll from the barrel. So here we have our little mini roller, and I'm going to put that in the center. Just going to line it up, and I'm just going to roll it. And just walk it up. Now we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take the lace, and you can go this way with the lace, and we could do lace on each side, or you can come in like this and you just set it down and you line it up, and you just start and you roll out. So I got a little gap here, right here, but we can go back in with a stamp and stamp some texture in there. Let's do this side too. Oh, I got to come to this side to roll. Normally I turn my board when I'm working in the studio. So this one came right up to the edge on that one there. And if you do it and you say, you know what, I didn't love how that worked out, you have a magic eraser in this yellow rib. See? And it's all gone. And this is another reason why, if you make your slabs a little bit thicker, if you make a mistake, and we don't have mistakes, we have happy accidents, right? You can go in and take it out. So look, nothing. So it's gone. But I do want texture there. So what we're going to do, so we're going to come in and I'm just going to put this up to the edge, and then I'm just going to roll it. So right there I have texture to texture, and then turning my board around only because it's easier for me here to roll on this side. So this way you can combine multiple textures. Look how fun that is. All right, and turn it back around. Now I'm going to release the clay from the board. And then taking my rim template, let me find the center. So you can measure if you want and make a little tick mark here where the center is, so then when you find your texture, you can line it up. I didn't do that, but you can do it. And then using a clay knife, or you could use a needle tool, I'm just going to cut out the rim template. And then we set that to the side because we're done with that. All right, so this clay here, just going to set back there, and here's our little slab ready to go. And I'm going to take and grab my GR pottery form, and we're just going to line that up. And, you know, Jeff's been showing us his Wah 2 system, and these are the Wah boards. These are some of my favorite boards for working in the studio. They're a nice big size, and they make it so easy when you're going to work with lots of pieces and you want to flip them over. All right, so we have our slab. I'm just going to line up my piece. I'm going to turn it just so. This is all done by eye. If you want to measure, you can get out a ruler and you can measure it. All right, now we're just going to flip it, whole thing over. And I'm just reaching up there, making sure that it released, and there it did. Now I take a very barely damp sponge, or if you prefer, you can use your rib. We're going to smooth the bottom, and then I usually take my damp sponge and I just get the sides a little bit to start folding down. And then I'll take my rib, and I have switched to the red rib. You could still use the yellow. The red is softer, and I think with porcelainous clays, it's a little better. This is a number 4. Although I have them in every size, so really you're going to find the ones you like. And the clay I'm using is Laguna B-Mix 5. It's a mid-range porcelainous stoneware. It's a beautiful, soft, white, creamy color when it's fired. Now I'm just going to pull the clay back towards me. Pulling it back towards the form. And then just smooth it one more time. Now, I'm smoothing this down until the sides are touching the board. If you wanted to have a little more of a lift, we could slide this off, and I could grab a couple of these spacers that GR Pottery Forms has, or you could just use a couple little scrap pieces of wood if you have some. We just slide this off, put these in here, put our form down on them. So now, when we do this, we get a little more of an angle. So it's up to you how you like it to be. More of an angle, less of an angle. That's your choice. Now, feet. I like feet. Not everybody likes feet. I like feet on a pot. I feel like it elevates it. It kind of finishes it. But if you don't want to put a foot on your piece, you do not have to. So I've got this bit of clay. This is enough to make a mug. That there. I'm kind of thinking maybe I want to try to use this instead, because this is a mug right here. Don't you see it? Can you not see? It's a mug. I'm going to sit this over. I'm going to move this to the side because this is my mug for later today. So I've got the clay that I didn't use from cutting out my little piece. Let's see if we're on camera all the way. And I'm just going to cut some strips using my foot maker. And the foot maker is a corn on the cob holder. And I do have a tutorial on them. Jeff sells them, so you can get them from Jeff. We're not going to put, see, that's a good size one. That's a good one. We're going to do 1, 2. I got a plan. We're going to do strips. Foot strips, right? We'll need a foot. Oh, I think that'll fit there. Sorry if I'm off. Am I off camera? Okay. And then this here. So we got feet, 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 feet. Those look a little thin. Let's cut some new. And then all this clay that I have here will get wedged up and turn into something else. Okay. So I'm going to pick one of these. think I'm going to pick this one as my length. So let's take all this scrap here. We'll put these over here. And I'm going to pick one. Doesn't matter how long it is. The key is you pick one as your guide. So I cut one. Put that there. Two. This is already one of them, so this will be 3 here. So we have 3 and we have 4, and then we have the ends, of course. So I'm making a foot ring, but it's not a full ring, it's little foot strips. And you can do a full foot all the way around. Actually, do we want to do one? I think we should put one in the middle. Let's see. Started wedging my clay up a little soon, but we just need a tiny bit. Here. We'll put one there. Why do we put one there? Because this is a long span with slab work, and they tend to sag on us, so we're going to put one there. So I'm going to slip and score all these little bits and stick them on. And what I'm using for slipping and score is water, sodium silicate, and soda ash. It's also called magic water, and I have a recipe for it up on clayshare.com, clayshareresources.com. So you can go to our resource page, and anybody can access the resource page. You don't have to be a premium member of Clayshare to get access to the resource page. Now, Clayshare Prime, our private social media page, that is only for premium members of Clayshare. And there we do have other documents, we have downloadables, we have templates, we have all kinds of good things there. So right now I'm just marking everything out and slipping and scoring, and then I'll compress it all. Boop, get on there, little foot. Pat, pat, pat. So you didn't find the rim template on the, well, this rim template here is not on GR Pottery Forms. My Marrakesh is the only one currently there. And that one was the one that we showed with Jeff on Thursday, I believe it was. Okay, I'm taking a damp sponge and I'm just going to wrap it over my little feet, and then pinching my fingers together, I'm just going to smooth those out. Come back here. I'm compressing it down just a bit, helping it to bond to the clay. All right. Now I'll take my yellow rib and I'm just going to smooth out the top. Using your fingers, you're just going to go in and smooth out all the edges. And then let's see, we can use this. This is a Kemper wooden tool. What was the one Jeff was using? The JA25? I think this one's very similar to that. But you could use a clay shaper or color shaper if you like those. I do like those a lot, and I often use those. But all I'm doing is smoothing out that join on the sides. And then for where this edge is here, you know, it's kind of clunky. I mean, you can take your finger and smooth it out like that, or if you've got a little dowel, you can roll a dowel up onto it. On all your edges. If your dowel gets a little wet, just wipe it clean. Sometimes the clay gets a little sticky. And then if you want to finish these guys off, you can grab a stamp you've made and press it into the clay. You can also use the rolling pin you made, and you can roll that into a little bit of clay, and then you can cut a section of that out and turn that into a stamp. So then your motif from the front will carry over to the back, which is kind of nice, isn't it? Right, so if you want to make sure you're nice and flat, you'll take a flat board and you'll sit it on here and give it a little patty pat pat and pull it off, and that's flattened everything down. And then you need to let that sit up for about 4 hours. And then you'll be ready to move on to doing handles. Let me set this one to the side. And I'm going to show you the fastest way to make a handle. So here's one I made a little earlier today. I made this about 8 o'clock this morning. So it's a nice leather hard. I used a little bit bigger rim template and a little bit bigger GR pottery form to make this. But we're just going to flip it out onto this board. Here we go. Boom! Magic! Now, the handled rim template I did so that you don't have to put handles on. Look at that beautiful thing. And this does have the double texture on it, right? Put this off to the side. I need a bigger studio. I'm going to take a sponge and just gently make a little taco with my sponge and then wrap it around and bring it all the way around the edges. You could leave this edge, the handles alone, or we can make handles for this. It's up to you. I think we'll quickly make handles. Now, I have lots of tutorials on pulling handles. Absolutely, you could pull a handle. You could cut a handle from a strip of textured clay if you want to and make handles that way. Or you could use the fabulous Diamond Core Tools handheld extruders. Now, we didn't use these in this year's Clayshare Con, but I've got plenty of them, and I thought this is the fastest way to make a handle, especially for folks that are new to making pottery and they want the same handle on each side of their pots. So you pick a profile you like. I do have a few. And what I like to do is make these test samples. Here's just a strip, and it's been bisque fired. So I know this is the R8. I write on the back, way on the overhead. So it says R8. So I just find R8. That's R18. That's R10. I don't know. That's R16. There's R12. There's R8 right there. So I know this one looks like this. So if that's the handle I want, I go with this one. And I have my whole little cup, and I have more somewhere. Some I've shaped just to see, look, it's a handle. Do I like this handle on there? I really like this one though. So I'm gonna do the R8. Although the R12 is pretty snazzy. Yeah. 2021 they came out with the R12. They wrote that on the little thing. Okay. So we're using the R8. And I got a bag of clay. And I'm not sure which way this will show the best. Do you want me to do it? 2 might be a little low. Let me see. I think that's good. All right, you take your bag of clay. And if you want to do with a wire, you can do a fresh cut. I'm just going to smooth this off with my rib. This is clay that had previously frozen. It's a little soft. So I wouldn't use previously frozen clay, but all my clay froze, so there's not much I can do about it. So we're going to use it. All right, pull up your sleeves. Ready? I made a handle. Just like that. Handle done. Let's do another handle. Handle done. See, it froze. Do you see these cracks? This is because my clay froze and it actually separated. You have to wedge it back in. So technically, this whole block of clay needs to be re-wedged. But you see how easy it is to make handles? Every time, perfect too. All right, so we're gonna put the clay down. So if you struggle with handles, try the Diamond Core Tools handheld extruder. So I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna cut them down a little. I wish the clay hadn't froze, but I have got so many boxes of frozen clay, I can't not use it, right? Sometimes with these, when you're pulling, especially because my clay was a little wet, I need to clean my edges. So I'm just going to use a damp sponge. I cut them to be the same length. I just measured one from each other. I cut one and then I laid it on the other and cut the other. So there we have a handle, but we want to shape it a little bit, right? So let me get hands clean because they are a little dirty. And I'm just going to press down and flare out. Press down and flare out. Oftentimes I'll do this and then use a cookie cutter, right? So this is going to be a handle here. Press down and flare out. Press down and flare out. Give it a little bend. Make a little inchworm. Have a little curve if you want. You can make your handles taller if you want them taller. It's up to you. So let's grab our serrated rib and our, how are we on time?
12 minutes.
12 minutes? I gotta, oh, yes. I'm so excited. I thought it was over. So these handles, you know, you want to be able to get a couple fingers under them. If you want to make them bigger, you can. I really wanted it to be bigger, but as I said, my clay froze. So sadly, I really wanted it to be this big, right? Look at this. That's the size handle. It really needs to be this. I'm going to pull another one quickly since I got 12 minutes. Yay! And we're going to try it, and hopefully they won't crack on me. You can use these for handles on mugs too. So if you're struggling pulling mug handles, you can use them. I've done a couple broadcasts just on using the handheld extruders here, so you can go check those out on ClayShare. Oh, that's not too bad. A little breaking here. See that? The fun of studios that freeze. Now, if your glazes freeze, it's not that bad of a thing because you can just sieve them up, mix them up. You know, they come back easier than clay. Clay's more work to get it back to where it's usable. Okay. Go for a little bigger handle. Let me clean these guys up a little bit. You love the sound of the bag of clay being opened. Yes. So can you put frozen clay through a pug mill? You sure can pug it, yes. You can. Yep. But I'm not going to pug one bag of clay. That's a lot of work because if you have to make sure your pug mill's clean and then you got to clean it afterwards. If you're going to use your pug mill, you're going to want to pug quite a bit of clay, right? Not just one bag, but maybe 4 or 5 boxes. So when I just need a bag of clay or half a bag of clay for something, I just wedge it up by hand. It's not worth it, honestly, for me to get into the pug mill. Also, my pug mill is in an unheated space. And for me right now, it would make no sense to try pugging my clay. I did move all the clay into my house. It's living in the dining room. So although it's already froze, right? So I'm just cleaning up my edges. I'm gonna do a little shaping. Get our little height. Oh, see, this is what I'm talking about. You're gonna put a handle on. Put a handle that someone can use. Don't put these teeny tiny little handles that people can't get their fingers in. Nobody's going to enjoy that. They'll be at your house for the holidays, and they'll try to pick up your little tray, and they can't get their hands in there, and that's all they're going to talk about. We were at Jess's house for Thanksgiving, and we couldn't even put our hands in the tray. The handles were so small, right? And so, let me see, did I get them right? I think one's a little longer. This one here is a tiny bit longer. I'm going to cut a little bit off. So then once I have the edges, I'm just going to tamp them a bit. Normally I will use a flour cookie cutter and cut them to get that perfect. You know what? I think we will do that. Look at this piece. It's too beautiful. It has that flower motif. If it was a more rustic looking platter, I would not, but it's more refined. So I do want to, it deserves it, right? It should have a nice edge. So I've got a couple different size flower cookie cutters here. Debbie at De La Designs has a really great one she made because she was trying to use the metal ones and would always gouge the back, she told me. So it takes a little practice if you're using the metal one, but she has a great cutter she developed so you won't have that issue. Look at that. Perfect, right? Sit that there. Now we'll get this one over here. So I'm not used to time constraints. When I do tutorials, you all know, I'm usually just, I'm teaching, we're doing it. So ClayShareCon's hard because after me, we have, I believe, Michael Harbridge joining us. So I can't take up his time. There we go. Now we're talking. All right, so now we'll just shape them a little more. That's good. And now we'll slip and score and we can attach. So this tray was made at 8 o'clock this morning. I mean, doesn't everybody wake up at 4:30 and start thinking about the pots they're going to make that day and are out in their studio before 8 so they can start rolling out slabs of clay and, you know, wedging up and rolling out clay before 8 a.m. on a Saturday? Yes, that's what we do. Slip and score and slip and score. And then I'm just going to gently supporting the underside so I don't, it's a leather hard, but it's a soft leather hard tray, so I don't want to press too hard without supporting it. See, I'm just pressing it on. Taking my sponge. And then now we can come in, wipe it, use our finger to shape it a little more. Pull it out if you want to. You want your handle to come out a little bit? I think so. Look at that. You see how beautiful that is? And then I was talking about those color shapers. You know, you can use this to come in and clean up that edge because we do want a little more refined edge on this. How cute. So let's do the other side because we're not done. You got to make two. You woke up at 4 and mentally planned your studio day, right? Jennifer, I think, is that military still stuck with us where we wake up early and plan our days like that? And once I'm up, I'm up. I don't go back to bed. Like I cannot. My brain starts going and my mind is worrying. I can't stop, especially if I know I've got stuff that I want to do. Most of the time I wake up with pots in my, like I dream about making pots. And so I wake up and I can't wait to get out to the studio so I can make those pots. So again, my fingers are behind the clay and I'm just compressing gently, but I'm not smushing it. And then we'll wipe it clean. Wipe the top. And then if you want to shape a little bit, you need to get your finger damp. Just a little damp, and we can shape this up. Look at that handle. That is a beautiful thing. When you have handles that match side to side, that's pretty sweet. That's something to be proud of. So anybody could make handles like this. I'm just cleaning up my edges. What do you think? Nice, right? You don't know about 4 a.m., but you did get up at 5:45 to watch ClayShareCon. Well, Jan, I'm glad you're here with us. Yeah, You get out of bed and you went back to the studio to finish something many times, right? Sometimes you can't sleep because of it. You have a cat that wakes you up around 4 or 5. You get up, put her in the basement, and go back to sleep. We have a cat that does the same thing, and she wants to be fed all the time. So bad she is. That's our Junie. All right, so there we have this really beautiful tray with 2 different textures on it. You saw how I didn't have to use cornstarch or anything in there, but if you need to, you could. Now I got these 2 sad little babies. Look at them. They don't have any friends. What are you going to do with them? I can't. I don't have enough time to make another thing. But what I'll do is all this clay here, this is enough clay to make a little tray, a little mini tray, right? Definitely here. So I'll wedge this all up and make something with it. All right. Whew. How fun. So what length do I use as a guide to add a center foot for more support? Honestly, I just need a little nub in there. You just need a little something. Let me grab. Oh, this one doesn't have one. Oh, it was the one I was glazing. Let me grab that one. From this morning when I did the brush on glaze tutorial that we did together. I didn't finish glazing it, but so here's a bisque one that I need to finish, and it looks, gotta finish glazing. And if you look at the bottom, you're gonna see I've got a different, I did 2 U's, 2 straights, and then a little nub in the middle. You don't need a lot. You just need something in there to support it so you don't get slumping, because they do tend to sag. It's this long area here that's gonna give you that sagging. So you gotta put something down in there. And so that'll be enough. This one, oh, did you see on the bottom? Wait, I don't know if I can flip this one over because I got handles in it. I don't think I can. So let me just pretend this is the bottom. This one has a ring all the way around and then a strip and a strip. Yeah, that's another one I did. Not the same. So I'll show this one when it's done. All right, so what happens now to this? This is going to sit out the rest of today open like it is, not covered at all. At the end of the day when I go in for the night, I'm going to take that plastic that I pulled off my slab, or another sheet of plastic. I'm going to gently drape this on it. Then I'm going to grab my weight bags from their little drawer over here where I store them. These guys right here, which are just old shirts that have been cut up and filled with kitty litter, we lay these in here to weigh it down, and they're going to stay in there until it's bone dry. What will happen is in a couple days, I'll keep checking on it. In a couple days, I'll take the plastic off all the way, but I let it sit a little longer with the plastic on because of the handles. So usually 4 days under plastic, but every day checking, flipping the plastic over because moisture is going to build up underneath. You're going to get condensation. And you want to prevent that from dripping back down into your platter. So just every day, take your weight bags off, take your plastic off, check it, everything's looking good, flip your plastic over, put it back on, put your weight bags back on. And then as it's drying, usually around day 4 or so, you can take the plastic off, put the weight bags on, and then you put the plastic back on, but it'll be like a tent on top of the weight bags. And then I let it sit like that until it's completely dry, usually another week in my studio. So about, 12 to 14 days, something like that. Depends. All right, so we made this beautiful, elegant tray. You saw how easy it was, and we added fancy handles. You don't need to add handles if you don't want to, but you could do a little more casual style like this. If you like this style, it's up to you. All right, thank you everyone for joining me for making a tray using textured rolling pins. Now we have planters you won't find in big box stores coming up with Michael Harbridge. So we're going to take a quick little break, and then we'll be back with Mike. See you all then.